Now, there is much to learn in public education that is not taught by the teachers. Wait a minute. Yipe. I picked a word that has little. I don't like this word. There's too many options. Of course, you can look it up and see what the definition is. I'll do that real quick. Get demonstration if nothing else. So a quick look up. Pursue. Read something. What? Examine carefully at length. Typically a subtle or careful way. I like that. I see. But peruse. I'll change the wording of it. I don't like peruse or complex issues. Ease. No. Or complex issues. Peruse. Let's see. That was an interesting example. The worst word wasn't the right one, but it became the right one. If effect is alternate children, which it still is, seem to have little hope of making things better in the long run. Well, it's supposed to sound right without this. So the effect this alternate form of raising children would seem to have little hope. Effect of this alternate form of raising children would seem to have little hope, and that's better. Effect of this alternate form of raising children would seem to have little hope of making things better for society. For them or society. For them or society. Okay. Not only are they missing out, here's a second issue which lists these actions. I'll say it wrong, that's wrong, but I'll say it like that for now. Which these actions, it's better to follow the thought process than to change it and then get stumped. There's a second issue, wait, maybe if I read the wording it'll help. There's a second problem. There we go, now it's come to me. There's a second problem cause, and this, I had it and I lost it. But it's practice, okay, that was the word. Practice of treating with an R, treating I like that. Second problem caused by reacting to children as if they were adults. Not only are they missing, another problem caused, no, it's the second problem caused by this practice, caused by this practice of reacting to children as if they were adults. and adjust the system. Any just system. No, not any just system. Because it's two different systems. And I guess that's true either way too. It only goes systems. Systems is nothing at all. When it comes to cry, accused of. Now just punishing them. Punishing children. Lots. Could place them. Now this would probably happen with the juvenile system, but of course it will totally happen in the adult system. And it still is. This would or could or would. This would some degree happen in the juvenile system as it predetermined. It is in the adult system. It's little to no chance of it not dominate. Yes. Okay. That's one, that's two, that's going on three. Whoa, wait a minute. How many pages was I supposed to have? It says 3 to 4. 3 to 4. That was the second. Now I need a third. And then a concluding paragraph. It looks like I'm about on target. Okay. Not bad. Or is it? I better save this, come to think of it. Saved. Yes, you always save it. The way to know you should save it is, if you were to lose it all, would you cry crocodile tears? At this point, yes, I would. Let me see here. You don't have to be crocodile tears either. Let's see. If the power were to go out, I would certainly be zapped. Okay. Dominate not dominating adolescents. Okay, that's number 2. I'll put this up here, even though I don't need to. It's more psychological than it is anything else. Makes me feel like you've made it to level 5. Well, beyond level 5. Not level 6. Like some game. Explain the third reason. Oh, wait a minute. I do need to take a look at these, make sure I'm doing this. These last 3. Develop a coherent, structured paper with an introduction, body, and conclusion. Okay, well, that's not an issue. Write an appropriate title, an interesting paragraph. I did that. So I'm at this point on that. Use effective transitional words, phrases, and sentences throughout the paper. So far, I guess, so good. I'm going to have to listen to it at the end. Support claims with at least 3 quality, relevant, or references. You know, I probably should put a reference for each of these. A separate reference. But I can come back to that later. I should say the, let's see, what would this one be? This would be the interactive process, and that's totally wrong. Just leave it over there for now. Explain the third: economic, social. So I put economic. That was the first one. The ability to do anything later. Put social. The ability to do anything later. Political. Wow. Environmental. You're kidding me. Complex. Oh, yeah, the other environmental. The fact that you have children with adults. They are tried and they are sentenced to be with adults through their adolescence. Not just adults, but adults that have been seen as criminals, to use a dirty word. Probably most of them are just people who made a big mistake and realize it. But there's bound to be this one and that one that aren't, and they're far more likely to encounter those in person. Ethical, moral. I would like to put an ethical, moral, but in this case, the ethical, moral, and environmental kind of go together because that's what I'm referring to. Yes. The putting of them with adults, with what is apparently the worst adults in society. If you read the court case, one could say it like that and be found as reasonable. It's bound to be one of five of them that are the same as anyone else. I would guess it's actually more in the order of 80 or 90% or more. But there, thirdly, there is the issue of the growing environment. Obviously, that's an E. Let me see. Growing environment. The, let me see, children which are tried, convicted, totally wrong. Spelling, I'll leave it like that. Convicted and sentenced as adults and to be incarcerated. I should make sure on this one now. Incarcerated with adults. I'll make double sure before I get into this little tangent because I haven't looked it up yet. Nope, I have not. This is my looking it up. I do know that it exists. Let me see. Let's see. 14-year-old serving time with adults. Should the law treat kids and adults differently? Sentence young story of life without parole with juveniles. Get that. They don't even water it down at all. It'd be like normally you'd have life without parole, but since you're only 15, there is no without parole. There'll at least be the possibility where you. But no, they do the non-deadly effect of execution. Life without the possibility of parole. Might as well execute them. What is the difference? Either way, they'll be in there for the rest of their life. Doesn't matter how long that takes. Same as 13 and 14-year-olds. It is unusual, you know. Treating them like that is not done in any other circumstance. So why do it there? 13 and 14-year-old children to die in prison. That's interesting. What is going on here? Oof. Yep. Those youngins. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Is this a real picture? That means that they were completely and utterly unprepared to actually do what they decided to do. If they don't even have the proper clothes for them. In there with Bubba. And yes, the justice system did that to them. You can't put a kid in a circumstance you know is harmful to them without being culpable in some sense. At least no one else could do it. The government seems to want to get away with it, though. I guess that's what happens when you write the laws concerning yourself. You tend to make yourself immune. Let me see here. Well, the face of these decisions. Not something. Mm-mm-mm-mm. That's what happens when you put a real gun in a kid's hand. Stupidity. Yeah, stupidity. And the word for it is stupidity. Although it's not really not stupidity, that's the wrong word. The word stupidity means you have the information, but your reasoning is flawed. In their case, they really don't have the information. You can tell it to them plainly, and being youngsters, they still won't quite get it. Why? Because they're youngsters. The child mind is different from an adult's. Put them on one of those machines and you'll see that it works differently. They aren't just uninformed adults. They really are kids. And they're being sentenced to die in prison in Alabama. Hmm. Imagine that. This person, beyond any reasonable considerations that they might be different in 10 years or 20? If you put them in prison, they probably are. But that's a case of self-fulfillment. Hmm. 13 or 14 year olds who die in prison. Well, if you want to act like that in these days, you might want to move. Kidding. No one would ever think to do that because they wind up just suddenly in a situation. Even if they're in a situation where they premeditate. And premeditation is almost nothing though. You take a stick, wrap tape around it, and then go out there and bash them with it. That's considered premeditation. Why? Because you made it more convenient to use it as a weapon. That's premeditation. And different states will be different. But you're far more likely to be convicted of premeditation in any state doing that. Why? Because it looks like you thought about it before. You didn't just walk in there, found them doing wild-eyedness, and then acted. Well, curious. Why is it that if a kid takes a gun and shoots himself, it's considered their parents' fault? I guess it's the idea of you want someone to punish. And the kid's no longer there, they're dead. So I guess it's the parents. They shouldn't have had the gun in there in the first place, etc. But if they shoot someone else, then crucify them. Why? Because we can, basically. Now, fortunately sentenced to die in prison. Of course they are. Why? Because you know they aren't going to change. I mean, if they're like that now, how can you expect them to be different 20 years from now? I'm just expressing a thought. The thought that the people who do it may have without realizing it. Whereas someone that looks like, say, Snow White with the seven dwarfs, or better, no. What's the name? Some little person looking for Bambi. You can easily paint them in with that brush. You're far less likely to go that route with it. It's more a matter of what you see in front of you than it is what you actually not think, but what you actually consciously decide. There are many things that are just there and you never realize they're there. You don't have to for it to have its effect. In fact, it has its effect better when you don't, because you don't raise your guard against it. You just absorb it without thought. It bypasses your thinking process. That's your intelligence. Sentenced to die in a North Carolina prison for a crime committed at age 14. Or he's an adult now. Well, he doesn't have a time machine to go back. So that's meaningless. He was 13-year old when he was directed by gang members to commit a robbery. The subject of the robbery suffered a non-fatal gunshot wound. Also, and turned himself in to the police for parole. He remains condemned to die in prison. Look at that. The person who got shot says, okay, okay, parole the guy. I mean, come on. But they're like, nope, not happening. He's the victim. I mean, come on. That's what automatic does. It throws away the reasoning that would happen on the ground. In this case, even the victim themselves says that's a bit much. Come on. But yet it still happens. That's what mandatory means. It means mindless. That's exactly what mandatory means. Or what's the word? Let's see. Zero tolerance. Same thing. It means no peripheral facts will impede this decision. Okay, how old the decision is. It may have been made 20, 40 years ago, but it's still a have to of today. That's why I hate mandatory sentence. Because it's mindless. Everyone and their dog can say, come on, this is ridiculous. Even the judges himself with tears can say, if it was up to me, no way would this be done, but I have no choice. The sentences give me no discretion in this case. That's exactly the same thing as saying, I think this is bogus too. It's just a judgy way of saying it. Re-edit bogus however you feel. I'll stick with bogus. Now, where was I? 13-year-old sentenced to not be parolable when they're 68. A 13-year-old can't even conceive 68 or 42 or probably not even 29. 29 is well over twice their age. Let's see, twice their age is at least 27. Okay, so it's over twice their age, not well over. Let's see, but still, that is a very long time, and it's longer than their memory. Actually, no, that's still, I should only count from their memory. But anyway, I can't remember. When I was 13, what was I doing? Riding bicycles, video games that only just come out, meaningfully come out. But I was playing them, watching cartoons. Well, excuse me, but come on. A youngster in that age group sentenced to not get out when they're 30, 60, or 70? Not until they're so old and feeble that leaving them in there becomes ridiculous. Only then might they, perhaps, be allowed out. And then they'd only basically be being allowed out to die. And I don't even think that'll happen even then. The whole world will change several times before this person is 65, and yet they will not be allowed out. The only way they can get out is to be pardoned. And of course, the likelihood of that is somewhere around zero. I mean, if they do some miraculous thing in prison, like saving someone's life, maybe that, but I doubt it. Now, if for no other reason than politics, they are going to be pardoned for it because, after all, they did this or they did that. And this is definitely going to be a reference. Let me see. I should be doing this. The second is Ian Manuel. One of these non-homicide cases, a 14-year-old was sentenced to die in prison. It's funny way praising that makes it look like they die in the electric chair, but no, they just stay there until they die of old age. In California, for an offense in which no one was injured, 14-year-old so-and-so Antonio Nunez got into a car with two men nearly twice his age. Picked him up at a party. One of the men later claimed to be a kidnap victim. When their car was chased by police and shots were fired, he was arrested and charged along with the 27-year-old driver who aggravated kidnapping. Wait, he's 14 and he just because he's in the car, he's convicted? That happens with cars. No real thought need to apply. If you're in a car, it's kind of like its own little signed statement that you're party to whatever happens. It's my legal challenges on behalf of 13-year-old children sentenced to life in prison in 18 states. Stories illustrate have to come lack of competent legal help, offenses characterized by an inability to make mature judgments, impulsiveness, and the influence of older people, and brutal and traumatic childhood experiences. Hmm. That's something, but that's not what I'm looking for. This is like a good conclusion sentence. So let me see. Okay, back to the paper. Not like I really left it. What? Oh, convicted and sentenced. Incarcerated. I'm looking for incarcerated. Let me see. There was a picture. That was clearly what I was looking for. Let's see. Does the writing go with it? There's no writing with it. That doesn't help. Eco Justice Initiative. Mhm. Mm. People brush out a law, and now all the judges and whatnots have little choice. We have to treat him like he's 23. Him too. Let's see here. How old is he? Dozens of children across the United States were 13 or 14 at the time of the offense. Share characteristics. Criminal older teens. Right. Right. Hmm. Yeah, there you go, this thing. Go to teenagers, 14-year-old.